Don't start with the person, start with the project. Now, one of the core things that you're going to learn about in the Super Mentor framework is that oftentimes we get fixated on a particular person that we want to be our mentor, someone that we admire, we look up to, someone that we think could give us guidance and wisdom we want. The problem is, A, it's hard to get to that person, and B, it creates a relationship that might be challenging or difficult. It's difficult for great mentors to want to mentor when the relationship is uncertain. And that's why we don't start by picking a person, we start by picking a project. And the first step in your super mentoring relationship is identifying the project that you want to work on. We call this your attractor project. You're looking for something that is fun, is personal, is exciting to you that you can use to collaborate with on prospective super mentors. And so the reason projects are so powerful is because they're the way that today's ambitious people attract amazing other humans. Now, part of my research into the Super Mentors Project was to go out and study some of the world's most successful people in their 30s. And so we studied over 5,000 people who'd been named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. These are people who figured out some early, interesting, exciting opportunities early in their careers. And that's what got them named to this list. Then what we wanted to do is understand what were some of the things that made them different, made them unique, made them special. Well, it wasn't what school they went to. In fact, they went to more than 500 different schools. It wasn't that they went to graduate school. In fact, more of them on this list dropped out of college or never went than even went to graduate school. And it wasn't even about starting a company. Many of them did, but oftentimes it wasn't till much later. What we found is over 80% of the people on the list had some kind of a project that they had worked on. And that project had been the tool that they'd use to attract amazing people to help them get where they wanted to go. So what are some of the key details in picking a great project? Well, there's 3 things that we find are important in these projects. And in fact, we're going to share with you the 9 most common types of projects that we found from people who were on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. But the 3 criteria we found for great projects were this. Number 1, you pick something that you can finish within about a year. So you want a project that doesn't take you forever to complete or something that can never be completed along the way. You want something that most of the time will take you between 6 months and a year. That makes it substantive enough that people can see there's heft and real depth behind it, but also not so long that you can never finish it. That way you can have something you can show off to other people about what you accomplished. So that's the first thing. Pick a project you could finish. Sometimes people ask me, is it good to start a blog as a project? And my answer is no, because it isn't finishable. Remember, when you start a blog, you're basically signing up to write and publish regularly. So the difference in that is rather than starting a blog, start an article series. Pick a 10-part article series that you want to write, and you can publish it on your blog, but you can finish a project and demonstrate it to other people. That's the first thing. Pick a project that is finishable. Number 2, you want to pick something that is passionate for you, something you care about, something you're really, really interested in working on. This may be something that is a passion project of yours, somewhere you want to work, but something you're genuinely curious about. And that's what's important, is you want to pick something that you get excited about, because this demonstrates to other people what you care about, whether it's something in the food space, in technology, in dealing with sort of the new world of work, whatever it might be. Pick a project relates to something you're passionate about. An example of this is I've seen a number of students today who are interested in working in the world of cryptocurrency or Web 3.0. Well, what have they done? Well, they've gone out to actually launch student clubs that are focused on the world of cryptocurrency. That's a project that's tied to their passion, their interest, something they can use to help them explore that even further. And number 3 is you want to make sure that this is something that's not primarily done for money. The reason for that one is you want something that you can bring collaboration into it. So if you start a business or have some kind of a project that costs money for a person to participate in, it winds up feeling less of something that mentors want to be a part of. And so that's why you want to pick something that's not done primarily for money. You certainly can decide to write a book, or you could sort of launch a podcast or do an event that you want to charge for, but the primary purpose of those is learning as opposed to primarily for money. And that's what leads to great collaboration. So the 3 big things you want to do when you pick a project is, number 1, pick something that you can finish and share. Number 2, you want to pick something that aligns to a personal passion of yours, something you really, really care about to show off. And number 3, you want to do something not primarily for money, as a way to build collaboration around that project. So what are some of the most common projects that we found people working on? Well, you'll see they kind of tend to slot into 3 different areas. We find things that tend to be about writing, we find things to be about videos, and we tend to see things that are about kind of creating projects. So some of the writing projects we've seen as projects that we find out for people are things like an article series. We see people doing a series of 10-part articles about something they care about and sharing it that way. We've also seen people tackling things like a nonfiction book, something they care about to share, or even something like a novel or a memoir. Those are some examples of writing projects we've seen. We've also seen things on video, and that might be something that you decide to do that could be launching a YouTube channel, or it could be something even as different as launching sort of a series on TikTok or what might have you. Oftentimes, we even see people tackling projects that might be a podcast or even some kind of an event series where they share the content afterwards on video. Those are other examples. And then lastly, we see sorts of things that are convening functions, things like events, things like speaker series, things like groups and clubs and organizations, and even things like art exhibits along the way. So there's 9 different projects we see very commonly done. Your goal here is to pick something you're excited about, something you've always dreamed of doing. It doesn't have to line up to your career. It doesn't have to be something that maps out exactly to what you think you're going to do for work, but it's a vehicle, it's a vessel for you to explore something. So if you're interested in the idea of exploring the future of space travel, maybe you want to do a podcast interviewing other people who are space experts. Or if you're interested in understanding the way that we can get more women elected to Congress, maybe you write a book about it. Or if you're interested in understanding how we might sort of have a better world that has a more sustainable food system, maybe you do an event series, or maybe you do some kind of an exhibit together. The important thing is make those projects something that you can finish, something that is sort of you can sort of demonstrate your passion, and lastly, something you can collaborate on. Those are the key things we want to do, and if you do those things, you are definitely going to find a way to unlock opportunities by picking a project. Remember, the best way to think about picking a project is pick something that can attract other people to participate with you. And if you do those things, you're going to find that the project is something fun, something passionate about, and perhaps just as importantly, you involve those people into it who one day can lead to those opportunities to create those super mentor relationships for you.